I had a second tutoring session with that same tutor, and it was okay, but not as good as the first one. I think she's a bit annoyed at my going into Japanese mode all the time when I'm trying to go into Korean. I've found she's not the only tutor to get annoyed by this. The only tutors who don't are tutors that speak Japanese. So basically, they get annoyed when they can't understand or relate to whatever is coming out of my mouth, which is understandable. One thing I've tried to do most of the time that I've been studying Korean is to maintain Japanese at least a little bit while using Korean. Because I work so hard to get to where I am in Japanese, it seems a waste not to enjoy it and let it get worse. But when I study Japanese, I totally shut off my other foreign languages so that I could obsess or focus on Japanese better, and it worked. Japanese was still really hard, but I'm sure it would have been even worse had I pushed myself to maintain my much stronger languages. A YouTuber I saw recently called her languages rooms in her head, and the metaphor works well, I think. She felt that most of her languages were separate rooms that didn't overlap or get confused, except for Spanish and French, where she would often mean to walk into one room but go into the other by mistake sometimes, without realizing it, and sometimes realizing it. According to her, she is very confident that as she reaches a C1 level in those languages, that will just go away. Well, for me, especially for Asian languages, I seriously doubt there will ever be a C1 level. But Japanese did get to a B2 level, and when I go into Japanese, mostly Japanese comes out. I say mostly. Occasionally, I found myself wanting to say ne for yes in Japanese because I was studying Korean earlier that day or the day before. I haven't outright just spoken Korean instead of Japanese without realizing it though. Mostly just ne or something similar where the Korean popped into my head first and I had to concentrate a bit to remember the Japanese too. If I get better at Korean, will that also keep it out of my Japanese? Being a polyglot stinks. I think I qualify as a polyglot, if a rather inept one, although I'd feel more like a polyglot if I brushed up my German, French, and or Spanish. Not going to happen very soon though. I'm going to try to ignore Japanese and really focus 100% on Korean. I'm just not a great multitasker, at least right now. I will say that I think I was better when I was younger. I sort of studied all three of those languages at the same time without any adverse effects, except maybe my progress was a bit slower as a result. But now I think it's a lot worse. There's still one thing I haven't tried yet, however, getting a full night's sleep every night consistently. I tend to average between 6 to 7 hours of sleep a night, sometimes a little less even. It's okay for me to get by, but pushing yourself to learn a new language and then juggling multiple languages even is a whole nother thing. I really think getting more sleep would help a lot. I am also very doubtful that I can pull it off, except for weekends. Every night, I tell myself to go to bed before midnight. Every night, I'm watching YouTube, Netflix, or doing something else, anything instead. I just can't resist squeezing a little more me time in before knocking off to sleep to wake up and start work the next day. I truly respect people who maintain a consistent sleep schedule where they get 8 hours plus of sleep, actual sleep every night. Anyway, in part because my class ended, maybe I felt a bit less motivated and focused on Korean. I think that by trying to limit myself to just Korean and no Japanese or any other languages, it should help get me back on track and doing spaced repetition, reps, and reading and listening. So that's my update for now. I should have another update coming up soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.